Boom, and we're back, Jack. Making no plans, Stan. Don't need to be cool, Roy. Just set yourself free. Yeah, the heat does that to me a lot. Alright, so continuing here. This is fairly easy to take off. A couple of clamps here. Don't break that baby. And remember, you got a couple little O-rings in a previous video that I showed you. Set this over here. And it looks like it's actually going to rain a little bit. Typical Appalachian June weather. Almost looks like one of them tornadoes there. But that's not. It's just a nice wet cloud. So kind of nice to have the shade, that's for sure. Next thing we're going to do, unhook this hose here. Got a couple bolts right here. I'm thinking this piece and this piece will just come all out of here. It's all together. Also, don't break your wire here for your sensor on that. That guy there. Yeah, let's get these bolts out of here. Fairly long, and these are 13 or 14, 11, 12, 13 millimeter. And I'm thinking this whole piece here just comes up. If it does, it'll save me a lot of time. And it's moving. Why do I have a feeling there's one more hidden bolt somewhere? Or it's just kind of lodged into it's probably lodged into a grommet down there. Let me see if I can pull this out with both hands. Hey, hey, hey. There we go. Some of you may know that I am actually a storm chaser too. I was on TV for 20 years. Chief meteorologist and all that good stuff. Then YouTube came along. And with my obsession with filming all the time, and in the late 80s and 90s, YouTube came along and made things even more fun. Get this unhooked here. I think this all comes out as one piece. Oh, how about that? How about that? And it's heavy. Oh, my. All right, so we got that out. This is just going to give us so much more room in here. Oh, yeah. I love it. And now, this side here. This side doesn't look like it's going to be as bad. But looks can be deceiving. And also, we have the same issue with the bolts over here. They're pretty rusted. So we'll start moving wires off the side and start with this valve cover. I may have a problem with this guy here. So let me see what I can get done here. Get a couple hoses out of the way. Okay, another tip is don't be in a hurry and just get you a lot of rags, towels, or whatever, and just put it around in front of it so you can have something to lean on so you don't catch your arms up and stuff. Heck, it might be so comfortable you might want to take a nap, I don't know, underneath the vehicle in the shade. We've got everything unhooked here, surprisingly. I did not break any of these tabs, plastic tabs. See right there? Just take your time at it, and you know, I got that unhooked. This is the, I guess, a noise suppressor for the radio. All the wires came off the sensors for the coils and the injectors, and I think we just pushed this back out of the way for the most part now, and we should be able to get a lot of these bolts and stuff here. And I'll take all my little connectors here and push them back out of the way like this. Now we got lots of room here to get into the bolts. And see, I got one more sensor here, and I might as well just take it out now. Looks like it's the front bank 2 camshaft position sensor. Alright, put this back out of the way. Now before you do all this is your first time and you're pretty confident, take lots of pictures. That way you won't have any issues how wires go back. If they overlap each other or whatever, because sometimes you get them in the wrong order and they're not long enough to go back into the original plug. So now we'll go ahead and take out the coils first and go from there. So hey, let me know where you're watching from right now. Alright, much better luck on this side with these little bolts, these little 7mm bolts. I got all these out without a problem. Now we're going to start pulling these coils out. Oh, that one came out fairly easy. I vacuumed most of the dirt out, what I could. Oh, it would help if I put the camera in the right position. Alright, a little dirt on that one there. Alright, let's see what this one looks like. Oh. Well, clean on the inside. That's all that matters. Like I said, the thing didn't have a miss in it at all. It just had some codes, and I would get a random miss because it was so far out of time. There's that one. So, yeah, original Ford coils. So we're off to a good start. All right, now we're going to start on these valve pan cover bolts and see what we can muster up here. Hopefully it'll come off fairly easy. All right, so we got all 9 bolts out. That's what's in there: 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And now we gotta stand up in here. I'm 6 foot something tall, and I still gotta stand up on a stand. Let's see if we can break this loose. This looks like it's never been off since the factory. This looks like the factory glue. So let's see if we can somehow break it loose. It's Monday, so we'll see how well that goes. Of course, I'm probably going to have to get somewhere here, and don't have much of a waypoint over here. So, oh, there we go. This time I made sure I had all the bolts out. Okay, that one's out, that one's out. Have to wiggle around a little bit. Also, I got that dipstick tube here pulled back a little bit. Be careful pulling these back, because if you pull them back too far, if they're rusty right down here where the manifold is, they will break off. Alright, so this side came. Oh, you know what? I wanted to vacuum that dirt out of there. Well, too late now. Let's go ahead and just pull this out of here. This side's not as bad as the other side anyway with the dirt. Have you not? Alright. Alright, so there's this one. I've never seen this one either. Off, and not too bad. And whatever's there will wipe off. And here is this side. Let me set this down real quick here. Let's go up here and look, and it looks like for the most part not too much debris in there, just some dirt I gotta vacuum out. Real smart, Nathan. Alright. But yeah, this looks like could be the factory gasket. So here is the cam phaser on this side. What I did last night, I ordered everything. I ordered cam phaser gears, timing chain, guides, a water pump, and the oil pump. I'm just going to replace the whole front end on this, and this will be a really nice truck. So we got that out. I might as well go ahead and take this cam phaser out, and the new one I put in over there. I might as well just take it out, get it out of the way too, because I'll end up breaking it. Really, after this, the only thing I have to start doing is go ahead and I think I'll have to take off power steering, a couple of brackets, get the belt off, then we can start disassembling the bolts out of the front housing cover. I will have to get that crank bolt off, and surprisingly there's a lot of room here. I could probably get my electric impact wrench in there and get that bolt right off there. So that'll be our next task, but I need to vacuum all this sand and dirt out of here real quick. Oh, that was dumb. Alright, let me get this out. Alright, I'll tell you what, before we start on the front here, man, is this thing hot. Oh. Go ahead and pull this cam phaser here, and let's see what it looks like. Some of you probably want to know. And I found out this side, the timing chain's tight. Alright, I don't see any debris. Everything looks good. And on this side, see, if I get up in here, and I apologize about the sun here, let me get this in. And this chain on this side is tight. It's pretty tight. So I know we got a broken guide on the other side. That's why I had all the codes from Bank 1. So these here are probably okay. These cam phaser gears are probably okay, but like I said, I've got the whole front piece coming, and gears, pump, oil pump, even a water pump. Thank goodness they made the water pump easy to replace on this. So alright, so that's that. So now I guess we'll go ahead and start tearing off the front end here. Alright, so we're working on this front timing cover, and what I want to do next is go ahead and get this crank pulley off first. And I pulled this plastic up here out of the way. Don't even try to take it off, because they put this in first and they ran the lines, and there's holes here, and there's these big long things here that are impossible to get out, so I just wired it up because there is a secondary piece which is right here. It's got these really long bolts in them. You get this out of the way and it will give you a little bit better access under here. This is just how I'm doing it. I want to use my electric impact there and zip that crank bolt out. It's pretty rusty, so and this bolt, this socket on that bolt here looks like it's going to be 11/16, unless, let's see, nah, it's going to be just a little bit bigger. The one I had a minute ago was too big, so let me get the right socket. All right, so it turns out it's an 18. I should have known that. Now the trick is for me to hold the camera and get up here and try to zip this off with the other hand. And I hear thunder and we're about ready to get some storms, so I want to just at least get this done today. So bear with me a second, guys. All right, so here goes nothing. One hand, camera on the other. 3, 2, 1. That took every bit of strength in my arm I had. Thank goodness that's out, and it looks like that crank pulley should be fairly easy to take out. Looks like just standard 3-claw puller, and here is the bolt we're looking at. So I tell you what, that thing there's been a lifesaver. I've had that for I've had that for about 13 years now, and there's the bolts. So all right, so that is that, and now we can start working on the timing, or I'll tell you what I'm going to do next. Since everything's still intact, I'm going to go ahead and break this cam phaser gear bolt loose and that one over there. That way it'll be a lot easier with everything still hooked up. Then we'll take off the belt. The power steering is the only thing that's kind of a job to get to, but you can do it pretty easy. I usually just take out the 2 bolts and use a ratcheting wrench on the bottom bolt from underneath and let the whole thing fall off. This should pull off the side. The reservoir, good thing is they put these hoses up, made them long enough we can actually kind of move them. Put this off the side and everything else should be fairly easy. The bracket and a bunch of bolts all the way around, and there is one line. You guys probably hear thunder, and that's what that noise is. There is one line right here. It's actually bolted on the bottom of that, and other than that, it should be fairly easy. So this is a job you don't want to be in a big hurry about. All right, let's continue. All right, finally a nice cool sprinkly day. Man, it beats the heat anytime. All right, so we're going to work smarter, not harder. Whoever thought of that little catchy saying? I don't know, but I just said it again. So what we're going to do here, since we still have a lot of stuff hooked up, we're going to use that to our advantage. We're going to go ahead and break off these cam bolts here, cam phaser bolts, and also down here where you see water pulley, I should say. We're going to go ahead and take these bolts off, because with all this stuff on, it just makes it a lot easier to take off. And then that's really the hard stuff. Everything else here is just kind of small stuff. The power steering pump, of course, we got to get that off. That shouldn't be too bad. So let's go ahead and break these cam bolts loose. All right, so these are 15 millimeter. Like I said, these cam phasers are probably okay. It only takes one guide to break and throw this whole system out of whack. So, but we're just, like I said, we're going to replace everything. So let's go ahead and break this loose here. All right, so we got that loose. This saves us a lot of time down the road. So I got that side. Let's go to the other side. This is so sketchy because the raindrops, it takes one raindrop to hit my little S5 camera here. Yeah, I'm cheap. And it will try to shut the camera down because it thinks I'm saying stop. So let's get this side here. 1, 2, 3. Oh, she's on there, but she'll come. I might use both hands though. Try it again here. There we go. You know, if you're taking it off, don't worry about putting pressure on the chain and breaking the other guide, because we already got one broke anyway and we're replacing it. So that is loose. sure is. So we're good there. Oh, let's go ahead and take those bolts out there. All right, so I've got my big screwdriver behind the water pump pulley there, and I've kind of got it wedged in there just a little bit, but what I need to do now is go ahead and loosen up one of the bolts here once I find my socket. I think I just had it. Oh, there it is, right in front of me. Duh. All right, so let's go ahead. I'm gonna do all four of these. I'll just do one and show you how much easier these are to get off like this. All right, there we go. Because if you try to do this, this pulley may turn. Just put a little pressure behind it. I don't know if the other ones will come loose. I have to readjust it, but that's how we're going to do that. And you can see we got this here loose. We're going to get the other three off. All right, so we get all these bolts loose. At this point, we can just go ahead and take our belt off. Now, I didn't have to take this pulley off, but it's easier to take it off now because we're going to eventually change out the water pump. And this pulley does go on the new water pump. They don't give you a new one. So we just got to push down on this. This is a 1/2 inch drive like that. Go ahead and slip this belt off. And just like that, our belt is off. And we'll go ahead and pull this thing off of here. One of these Harbor Freight ratchets. Man, these have been pretty good tools. And we'll slip this belt and get it out of the way. And that's it. Easy peasy. And we'll go ahead and take our bolts out here. Then really all we have to do is, like I said, get the water pump off and start on the brackets for the front cover. And I do have to pull the pulley off on the bottom. I've got a puller in there. Just take a 3-claw regular pulley remover to get that. And we got one more bolt here. You have nothing better to do tonight, laying in bed on your laptop watching this, right? Alright, so there's bolts, and there's that. So that's, you know, it's pretty straightforward. It just makes the job a little easier with all this stuff on. You can break bolts loose and all that. Alright guys, here's a tip before we move on. If you're waiting on parts and your vehicle's going to be sitting outside for maybe 4 or 5 days, even a week, here's a tip. Get some rags, you know, and put over your cam. Put a little oil on there, because just sitting out in the high humidity, you'll be surprised. You'll come back a couple days later and you'll see rust forming over those cams. So just kind of a tip there. I do this all the time. And of course, if it's outside, if it's raining really hard, there's a chance some of that rain could splash down in there. So there's your tip for this professional kind of job. All right guys, we got the tensioner here off, just 3 10mm bolts. Get this off to the side. This thing looks like it's been on there forever. Pretty rusty and everything, but seems to be pretty quiet, but we may replace that. All right, let's go ahead and get these cam sensor gears. Let's go ahead and get these cam sensors out. One there. Should be just a little 8mm screw holding them in. All right, so here comes this one. I'll tell you what, they put some long bolts in these, and you got to wiggle the crap out of them to get them out. There's that one there, and there's a look at the bolt, how long it is. Oops, almost fell. Getting a little slippery out here. And let's get this one off here. Oh, come on. Wow. I want to take a chance breaking these, so we'll put those off the side. We'll put them in a bag, tag them, and we'll know what they are and where they're at. Alright, so what I've done is taken off these radio noise suppressors. I believe that's what these are. One of them just came out with the bolt entirely, so I went with it. And there's the other one, and there's the other bolt, and there's the other one on this side. These are the big timing cover bolts in the case that go in there. So there's that. Just didn't want to break them, so now we are at a point where we can start taking off the power steering. I'm going to do the bottom crank pulley last because it's raining, and I'm hoping it'll let up a little bit. Then when it does, I can lay on the ground and have a little bit better look at it. Then again, I just may be delaying it. I don't know. But anyway, we are getting down. I think I'm going to go ahead and take off that pulley there. This guy here seems to be okay. And take this one off here just to get it out of the way. Now, you don't have to unhook any of your hoses or anything, which is kind of nice. You don't have to worry about draining coolant. We're good there. And let's see. We'll just continue here and see what else we can do. Alright, there's that pulley. Don't worry about messing them up. They are the same exact part number. And what we're going to do now, I almost forgot, we got this little crank sensor. I'm going to pull this bolt off and just slide the whole sensor out. The reason I'm going to do that is because sometimes it's kind of hard to figure out where to unhook that wire, and it'll save you from breaking it. So I like to take the bolt out and just work the sensor out, leave it all together, get it out, then look at it, and you can figure out how to unhook the wire from the back of that sensor. Alright, so we got the bolt out, and it's a little 8mm bolt, and you kind of got to take your time at it. But the good news is we got the wire off. It came off fairly easy, and now we can just take the sensor off. Now I did have to get on the ground and pull that wire out, and now we have to fiddle around here. It should come out if I turn it a certain way. And it's kind of a pain in the butt. Alright, so I've wiggled this thing, and I think, if I remember right, I think you have to pull this air conditioning compressor back so far in order to get this out. And as you can see, it's back as far as it'll go, and it's not coming out. So at least the wire is unhooked. That was my main goal, so I didn't break it. We can take this out as one unit. It's not that big of a deal, but how stupid is that if that is true? Some models you can actually change this out, but you can see how deep that sensor is in there. It's a long sensor, and when you get out so far, it hits the pulley there. So we're not going to worry too much about that right now. I'll research that later, but I think that's what the case was there. So we'll just continue. All right, let's get this other pulley off. I just want to take all this stuff off the front cover. It'll make it a little bit lighter, and I can see more when I'm pulling the bolts out of the cover and everything. So hopefully this will help somebody out, help you guys out. Maybe 20 or 30 people will watch this and say, hey, thanks. But all we gotta do now is go ahead and get that power steering unit off. Get that bolt out, the bracket there. There's a line down on the bottom by that oil filter. We gotta get that off. And let's see, start taking some bolts out here. But yeah, that sensor down there, I think the best thing to do is just pull that sensor out with the case there, which could be a problem if you're stuck somewhere and your crank sensor goes out. It means you have to pull off the AC or back it off a little bit. But I'll research that for you guys. Alright guys, so far so good. I've got the crank pulley off, but I gotta tell you, it's a pretty dirty job. I actually had to lay up under there and get my head where I can actually see into that pulley, and I'll show you why. Now they probably make a particular puller for this, but I'll tell you what I used. Get that off there. I used a 3-claw setup like this. This is a medium size. It's not the smaller one. It's like the one in between, and it's just enough room there to bite in behind that pulley. And we'll pull this off the rest of the way here, and there it is. And what I'm saying here is this part here that's sticking up, the shiny part, just enough room to go onto that right here. It doesn't go down in here. You can actually rest it right there, but I put a bolt in there just to make it a little longer, give me a little more length there, so I don't have to change that around a bunch of times. The puller, I basically got it off with one pull, and this is not as big as I thought it was. So good thing we'll change out the front seal, although it's bone dry down there. So made some pretty good progress. So now we'll go ahead and take the power steering off, unhook a few small things, and we'll pull this case off and go from there. Oh, and by the way, that crank sensor down there, you do have to loosen those bolts up on that air conditioning compressor, because well, there's just not enough room. That's what the book says. Some models you don't have to do that, but this one, yeah. There's just 4 bolts on the back side. You can take those bolts out or loosen them way up and just kind of let that compressor hang. You don't have to discharge it or anything. But yeah, way to go, Ford. Anyway, let's continue. Alright, now as for the power steering here, I've got the 2 top bolts off. Pretty easy to get out. The one in the back was kind of a bear. I used a little 10mm ratchet wrench on it, and you see right there, it comes off right here and one there. There's one on the bottom. Mine's already out. Someone's worked on this, but you can actually get to that one in the front here by taking a ratcheting wrench. This is the one you want to take out last. You know, this is what I would have done. But yeah, here, and you can get in here like this. There's a lot of YouTube videos on YouTube that show you how to do that. That bolt kind of comes out with the power steering unit. But the one in the back, I kept feeling around and I couldn't find it, and I realized if you look closely, once I get everything kind of set up here, you see that little plastic piece right about there on the mirror right there. Let me focus there a little bit better. That thing is on that bolt. You got to pull that plastic off because there's a wiring harness on that, and you feel around and you can't find that bolt. Well, that's because that's covering it up. So you got to pop that off, then you can get your wrench on there, take that bolt out, then this power steering unit will come out. But like I said, the bolt up in the front on the bottom here, that's the one you really need to take out last. So just so you know. So let's go ahead and try to get this out. Alright, so we just about got that bolt out on the bottom, and here's that piece I was telling you about right there. There's the wire. We'll look at that in a second. Like that Billy Joe song, don't tell me why. Alright, there's the bolt. We'll kind of let that power steering unit rest there. That's the one that's on the bottom. So I don't know where the one on the front was, but it's missing. But we got that little bolt right there I want to take off on this hose, and I should be able to pull this unit just about out of there. Alright, so there's that little 10mm bolt, or nut I should say. Take this off, and now we can just let this power steering unit kind of hang out of the way. And let me go on the bottom here. Well, right there you can see where the bolts on the top go. And underneath, all right, now I think you can kind of see that right there is where that other bolt goes, and that's the one that's kind of hard to get to on the back side. And the one that's really hard is right here by this, right there where my thumb is, behind that pulley. You got to get in there and get that out. The problem is that hose right there, line is in the way. Stupid design, but what are you going to do? But you can actually get that bolt through up here on the front of it. So that's that. So believe it or not, hard part's done. We're just going to push this back out of the way. I could pull it up here, but I don't want to have to unhook all this stuff here, the line and this. We really won't have an issue with that. Although I might go ahead and drain the fluid now, just because I want to replace this water pump. This hose could be in a way when I pull this out of here, you know, this front cover. So not a big deal. So we might do that. Other than that, all we gotta do now is take the bolts out around the case there. Now there are 2 bolts on the bottom there on the oil pan. Do those first, whatever you do, because you'll forget. You'll get in a hurry and break them. I've seen this before. So there's a couple down there. We'll get those first, probably little 10mm, and we'll get all the bolts around the case here and we'll split it open and see what she looks like on the inside. Guarantee you we got some plastic guides in there that's broken. Alright, so we got our coolant draining out there. I actually got me a little hose hanging down there. There it is. On the bottom of the petcock there. I had to actually use a small pair of vice grips to grip that thing because I had a little screwdriver to get in there and turn that little grommet. Just wouldn't work. Alright, now for the bottom of the oil pan there, where those bolts go up into that housing that we're taking off. Here are the bolts, and these are huge bolts. Look at the size of these things. They go up in that housing. There's 4 of them. I used a ratcheting wrench. Now on this one over here, you might run into a little bit of an issue, but I actually had to unhook this bracket right here, get this out of the way so I can move this line a little bit, because that bolt, when it came down, it was pretty close to that line, and my ratchet got kind of hung up on it. But once I unloosened this, took that little 10mm bolt out, pushed this out of the way just a little bit, it came free and I got the bolt out. That's the only issue down there, and it's a little 10mm bolt, and right there it is. They're both the same on the bottom. And right there, if I shine the light briefly, and if I can hold it just right, there's a little bolt right here, take out, and it's molded right there by that starter. And this will allow this big plastic, I don't know, thing here. You can pull forward or push it all the way forward, and it'll pull it far enough away from the front of that housing. So after you do all that, then As you can see right here, if I can get down in here and grab this. See how this whole thing moves out? And you can get to that bolt sticking up behind there. So, kind of a mess, I know. But we'll push the crank sensor back in for now. And that should still give us enough room to get to that bolt. So, where else on YouTube are you going to see this, huh? Alright, let's continue. Alright, let's go ahead and get our bolt out that we were just talking about. There it is, all to get this one out. You got that plastic thing that sits on here, that wiring loom harness, whatever, then you have a nut on that. So now we're home free. Alright guys, this is it. I've decided to go ahead and just take off the water pump, because I'm going to change it anyway, and it'll give me a little bit more, even more access to get in there and pull this case off. All the case bolts are off. The only oddball bolt was over here on this side. It goes down here, right about there, kind of a weird bolt. Goes right there on this side of the case, just so you know. All the bolts are out. I'm just going to take my little hammer here, if I can find it, and just tap on that water pump. See if I can just kind of break it loose. I'm pretty sure I got all the bolts out. I'll double check. Yep, all the bolts are out, so just kind of hit it there a little bit. There it goes. It's going to be on there. Maybe I can wiggle it off. I'm going to probably have to take both hands and get it off. Alright. Well, I thought I had all the water out of the radiator, but there it is. A lot of tapping, but I got it out. That seal, man, that thing was in there. So there's our case, and now I'll go ahead and gently pry it off. We'll let some of that water drain out of there first before we go ahead and pry it off there. Alright guys, it's coming slowly. It's tedious. I got a couple of screwdrivers there wedging in there, and we're tapping on this here a little bit. I got it wedged down there, and you can see it's coming apart slowly. There it goes. My screwdriver's out of the way so I don't lose those. And you just gotta take your time at it. It's slowly coming. I may have to set the camera down in order to get. It's probably hung up on a couple of dowel pins down here, so I'll have to slowly get those freed up. But it should come out here eventually. This is something you just gotta take your time at. Alright guys, we just about got this thing out. Ugh. Just make sure when you're doing this that you have it evenly pried on both sides of the case and here. Keep wiggling it. Oh, there we go. Oh yes, there we go. Alright, now I did take the power steering reservoir, moved it off the side, took the hose off, and there's a look at it. Oh, first time ever seeing it too. Wow. Well, looks pretty clean. Part of my gasket and down there, and also there's why you have to take out the, well, almost take off the air conditioning unit to get this sensor out. Look how long that is. That's what she said. Wow, that's a long crank sensor. Alright, so the seal, of course we're going to replace all this, so let's put this off to the side. It's raining and I gotta keep my camera somehow from getting any raindrops on it. Set that down there. And now let's look at the timing chain. Oh, there's part of a gasket. It was a little tedious getting that off, but I got it. And oh, right away. Looky there. There's our problem right there. Doesn't take much to get these vehicles out of time. Just a slight little break in the plastic will throw the timing way off. Now you can still have good tensioner guides here, and that's no problem. And it'll still cause, you know, this thing here, the tensioners here, the brake, these here get really loose if this plastic is broken. Alright, let's try this again. I had to put the hood down. water was getting on my camera. Now I can concentrate. What I was saying is, even though if you have good tensioners here, all it takes is one of these little plastic guides here to break and throw this whole thing out of whack, and you'll get timing issues. And also, I do believe that this here's probably seen better days too. So even that one's the same way on the bottom there. So, but that's all right. We got new ones. So we got it out, and there was our problem right there. Now the big question is, where's the rest of the plastic? Well, it's down the oil pan. I don't think we'll be able to get it out. Not too worried about it. But we are going to change out that oil pump. So I may look down in there with a little piece of equipment and just see if I can maybe snake it out. But I'm not too worried about it. But yep, that was our problem. You see, I can move it around quite a bit too. So there we go. Hey guys, thanks for sticking with me through the video while we tore this thing apart. Alright guys, so what we're going to do now is pretty much end the video here. This will be the end of part 2. We'll do part 3 coming up when we get our parts. We'll start putting it all back together and we'll start it up for the first time. Hopefully everything should be okay. And hopefully this will help some of you guys out if you're going to be doing a 2010 F-150 timing chain. So at least you know how to tear it apart and get the case off and get down to this point. So have some small screwdrivers ready on standby. Slowly wiggle it apart until you get it apart. So that'll be about it for the video, guys. This will be the end of part 2. I'll put part 3 up at the end of this video once we get her done. So again, thanks for watching, guys. Until my next video, I will see you later.